All right, it's been around after a sitting fortnight, but I want to kick it off tonight with an issue that shows just how out of touch the Albanese government is with the rest of the country. Over the last year, Labor have brought in a whopping 554,000 migrants. Now, these are levels we've never seen before in this country. It means Australia's population is growing by over 1,500 people per day, and there are still 852,000 foreigners here on student visas. This is all the while, of course, as you know, our rental market's tight as ever. Rents are up over 10% over the past 12 months. It's why our cities are congested. We've got energy and water infrastructure issues. We're struggling to keep the lights on in some markets. And as well, of course, the standards in our schools and hospitals continue to fall behind second and third world status levels. Do you know what the worst part is? No one ever voted for this. No one ever voted for Big Australia or mass migration. It wasn't on the table last year. Indeed, 2 years ago, then opposition leader Anthony Albanese refused to back the Morrison government's plans to take on 160,000 new migrants each year. He said, no, we're going to focus instead on training millions of unemployed or underemployed Australians. This is a massive backflip. So much for keeping that promise, as well as the one in our power bills. Joining me now to discuss this and more, a busy panel: Pauline Hanson, One Nation Chief of Staff James Ashby, and radio host 2GB Luke Grant. Well, gents, welcome to the program. James, I know you've long campaigned on this issue, and not just of a reasonable migration intake. You're not anti-migrant, you're just a reasonable migrant intake. But the failure of this country not to have a population policy. We saw that housing fund go through the Parliament with help of the Greens. But what's the point of 30,000 new homes if we're bringing in 500,000 migrants in 12 months and more to come?
Well, there is no point, and this is the issue, Peter, and I tend to disagree with you. I think people did vote for this because both Labor and the Coalition have been responsible for uncontrollable numbers of people coming into this country year upon year upon year, and the Ponzi scheme has been put in place to try and prop up the GDP and stop this country going into some form of recession. For many, many years, this has been an issue. Now, I feel sorry mostly for the people of the city. I don't think they realise how congested it's become until now. Having moved away from the city and moved into regional Queensland, it's us people from the regions who, when we do visit the city, we're the ones that recognise it straight away, because the congestion is beyond a joke. If you're wondering why you're sitting in more and more traffic from day to day, and why it takes longer to get a train, and why there's more delays in hospitals and trying to get your kids into daycare and that's because of the migration issue that both Labor and the Coalition are responsible for. Then the brakes need to be put on, Peter, and it needs to happen now.
I agree with you about the brakes. I think the point I was making about the election was it was not front and centre. And Luke, you can come in here. It was not front and centre. There was no policy from either side. There is this silence, this almost a compact not to debate this issue. I mean, I remember Tony Abbott said when he was elected that he wanted to get the numbers down to the long-term average under the Howard government. We'd had record numbers, 240,000 under Kevin Rudd. That pales into insignificance now, given what we're dealing with. I mean, Luke Grant, we've also got nearly 1 million foreigners still here on student visas, 852,000. This is a backdoor immigration program too.
Well, it is, Peter, of course. And for a long time, if you're a trusted university, you get to do much of the administrative work. So, you know, you're processing people who'll end up spending money at your institution. You know, there's more than 100,000 people in Australia now who've sought asylum. Now, they weren't honest. They didn't come here with a plea for asylum. They came here as a tourist or a temporary worker. Then they're here, they hang around for a few weeks, and they say, oh, I need asylum, I need saving, I need protection. That's more than 100,000. Can I just tell you on the question on, for example, the rental crisis? Louis Christopher from SQM Research, probably the most respected recorder of those statistics in rentals and the number of properties and where rents are. He says that to fix the rental crisis, all we're going to do is get immigration back to, as you said before, and I've quoted it for 100 years, you and Tony, when Tony was a PM, the long-term average. So if we had 2 years of 90,000 intake, so that's not zero, that's 90,000, there's a rental crisis solved. What are we doing? We're spending every bloody minute of every bloody day talking about the voice. I mean, it's madness. And the Liberal Party, sorry, done a great job calling the government out on the referendum, but these are the issues that matter. Get back to work.
And I think they're gutless on the issue of population. I certainly spoke my mind in the Turnbull and Morrison era on that.